The icy wind howled through the cracks in the mud and wattle walls, sending shivers down Thomas's spine. Outside, the temperature had plummeted to unimaginable lows, with frost forming on every surface like an unwelcome guest. Tucked away in his humble abode, Thomas desperately tried to keep warm, knowing that even the faintest breeze could be life-threatening. With each passing hour, the fire in his hearth grew weaker, casting flickering shadows on the faces of his sleeping family. His young son lay between his wife and him, his tiny chest rising and falling steadily. Fear gnawed at Thomas, wondering if this would be the night their son succumbs to the cold. Welcome to our channel, where we bring you the most amazing stories from human history. Some are scary, some are sad, but all are fascinating. And today, we're going to take you back to medieval Europe, where life was not easy, especially during winter. So stay with us until the end of this video. You won't regret it. For those living in the 21st century, a cold winter night might mean donning an extra sweater or turning up the thermostat. But in medieval Europe, such mundane challenges posed a grave threat to survival. The frigid temperatures demanded constant vigilance and drastic measures to avoid hypothermia and death. One wrong move could have dire consequences. Imagine being so cold that your fingers become stiff and useless, or so frozen that you stop feeling pain, making it impossible to tell if you're injured. Even breathing could be perilous, causing frost to form in your lungs and making every inhale a struggle. In the heart of winter, the sun barely peaked above the horizon, leaving people in darkness for most of the day and offering little warmth when it did shine. As farmers struggled to keep their livestock alive, they often resorted to extreme methods like keeping animals indoors, sharing body heat with humans. Despite the discomfort, one particularly harrowing practice involved wrapping pigs in blankets to prevent them from freezing. While these measures might seem extreme today, they were necessary for survival in a world without modern heating systems or adequate clothing. To understand how medieval farmers endured such freezing nights, we must delve into the depths of that era, exploring the challenges and sacrifices they faced head-on. Life in medieval Europe was not easy, especially for farmers who bore the brunt of the harsh weather conditions. Their work was demanding and dangerous, and the winters were long and brutal. Farmers and their families were responsible for tending to their crops and livestock, which required them to be outside in the freezing cold for long periods. It was crucial to protect themselves from the elements, as hypothermia and frostbite were constant threats. One of the most effective ways to keep warm was by layering clothing. People wore multiple layers of loose-fitting garments made from natural materials such as wool, linen, and leather. This trapped air between the layers, providing insulation. Farmers also used animal skins and furs to cover their bodies and protect them from the cold. These were often worn as cloaks or hoods and provided an additional layer of warmth. In addition to clothing, medieval people used various accessories to keep warm. For example, they used mufflers to cover their mouth and nose, protecting them from the cold air. They also used gloves and mittens to keep their hands warm while working outside. Furthermore, many people carried walking sticks or staffs, which they used to help balance themselves in the snow and ice. These also helped to keep their upper body warm. Another important aspect of staying warm was staying dry. Water conducts heat away from the body, so it was essential to avoid getting wet in cold weather. Farmers wore waterproof clothing such as waxed linen and oiled leather to protect themselves from rain, snow, and ice. They also used umbrellas and carried dried herbs to help absorb moisture and keep themselves dry. Medieval people also used various heating methods to keep their homes and workplaces warm. In homes, they used fireplaces and cooking fires to provide heat and light. Agricultural settings, they used portable braziers and stoves fueled by materials like charcoal or peat to keep warm while working. Despite these measures, life during the Middle Ages was still challenging, and the threat of hypothermia and frostbite remained ever present. Farmers and their families had to endure the freezing cold and risk injury or illness just to survive. Their resilience and determination to persevere in the face of such adversity is truly remarkable. While the common folk toiled to stay warm, the wealthier individuals in medieval society enjoyed a more luxurious existence. They could afford better quality clothing and heating methods, which helped them to stay comfortable during the winter months. However, even the wealthiest people were not immune to the harsh effects of winter. For instance, Queen Isabella of France, the wife of Edward II, died of cold exposure in 1305 after she was forced to walk barefoot from Normandy to London. During her journey, she developed a fever and was advised to keep moving to promote blood circulation. Tragically, she succumbed to the cold, highlighting the unpredictability and severity of winter conditions during the Middle Ages. But what about the peasants? What were their lives like during the harsh winter nights? Peasants were the lowest class in medieval society, and their lives were characterized by poverty and hardship. They lived in small villages and worked long hours as farmers, growing crops and tending to livestock. During the winter months, when work was scarce, many peasants resorted to begging or stealing to survive. Life was difficult for peasants, and many of them died during the winter due to cold exposure or starvation. Peasants lived in small, poorly constructed houses made of mud and straw, which offered little protection from the elements. They wore outdated and inadequate clothing that provided minimal warmth, and they often went hungry because they couldn't afford food. Many peasants had no choice but to eat whatever they could find, including inedible parts of animals and wild plants. They also had limited access to health care, and those who fell ill during the winter were often left to die. The harsh conditions and lack of opportunities made life for peasants during the winter months unbearable. For peasants, a single warm blanket was often the only barrier between life and death during the frigid winter nights. They slept with their animals for warmth, and sometimes sacrificed their beds to feed their animals. During the day, they would often huddle around a small fire, too afraid to leave their homes in fear of freezing to death. To make matters worse, rats and mice would often infest their homes, feasting on their meager possessions and spreading disease. The peasants would do anything to stay warm, including sharing body heat with strangers. This created a unique bond between people who had never met before, united in their struggle to survive the cold. It was a desperate measure, but it was necessary to stay alive. One way peasants kept warm during the harsh winter nights was by drinking warm liquids, such as cider, beer, or ale. These drinks provided a temporary sense of warmth and helped to lower their body temperature, making it easier to survive in the cold. Another method was through the use of hot water bottles filled with hot water and placed inside clothing to provide a source of heat. They would also use hot stones or bricks wrapped in cloth to provide warmth. These methods were not foolproof, however. There were cases of people getting burned or scalded by hot liquids or objects. Despite the risks, these methods were used to save lives during the coldest winter nights. During the winter, peasants would often rely on their neighbors for support and assistance. They would share food, resources, and body heat to help each other survive the harsh conditions. They would also work together to complete tasks, such as chopping wood or gathering supplies, making it easier to endure the long and dark days. This sense of community was essential for survival during the winter months, and it helped to create a strong bond between the peasants and the community. In conclusion, life for medieval farmers and peasants during winter was incredibly tough. They had to use every trick in the book to stay warm and alive, from wearing multiple layers of clothing to sharing body heat with others. It was a constant struggle against the elements, and many did not survive the harsh winter nights. However, their resilience and determination to persevere in the face of such adversity is truly admirable. What did you think of this chilling tale? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out on our incredible videos. We've got plenty more stories of human history waiting for you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.